Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel, Reading Ideas. Have I got a great reading idea for you today? So I've finally finished The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. 1,243 pages long. By some distance, the longest book I've read, I think. And so it's a different experience being with a book this long. And yeah, there's lots to talk about it. So but this is kind of my initial impressions. So firstly, I'd seen the films, and when I see a film, something like that, The Count of Monte Cristo, sometimes you don't think it's even a book, but I knew there was a book, but you kind of think, I know the book already, and you kind of think, not what's the point of reading the book, but you kind of almost feel like you've read it anyway, or I do, but yeah, obviously the story is the story, but the book is a very different experience. Okay, so this book has got a lot of recommendations to read on BookTube. So it's a bit of a different experience. Normally, when I've read a lot of books over my life, and you normally feel that you're kind of reading them on your own. It's very rare that you meet somebody and you'd kind of, well, me anyway, that I'd meet anybody and kind of discuss reading a book. It's kind of like a personal relationship between me and the book, whereas this has been a little bit different. All the while I've felt that it's almost like there's somebody over my shoulder, or that it's kind of been a bit more of a communal feeling about it, knowing that other people have read it, and that I've told, because I've been with it so long, whatever, put a comment on people's sites saying what I'm reading and where I'm up to, lots of people have said, oh, yeah, I've read that, or I'd be interested in what your thoughts are. So that's a very different experience. Again, a different experience being with a book for so long. And yeah, I can see a lot of people have said, oh, I'm too intimidated to read that, or shied away from it because it is so long. So first things first, it is, in that economics terms, there is an opportunity cost. If you're reading something 1,243 pages long, then you could have read 5-6 other books. And there was a couple of times where I had a little bit of a twitchy feeling, not that I wasn't enjoying the book, but a little bit of a twitchy feeling, like, ooh, that TBR list is just getting bigger and bigger, and that'd be, and knowing that, because I wasn't reading many pages a day. Sometimes there'd be a day go by where I wouldn't read it, but it'd usually be 20 to 30 pages a day, so it's taken me quite a long while. So yeah, I'd be kind of thinking, there's like books waiting there, so a little bit of twitchy feelings at times, but I'll let myself get taken along by the book, and I've got absolutely no regrets of reading it. It is a fabulous book, fabulous book. So it's some people's favorite ever book, and it makes a lot of people's top 10 books, and I can thoroughly see why. A very enjoyable experience, and it's very long, so I felt really with it, partly because I wasn't reading many pages a day, but it's kind of split up into sections. My favourite bit is probably the first third, when he's, when the bad things are happening to him and he's in jail, and yeah, that's really good. And the rest of it is good, but it's a different experience. This apparently was written as a serial at first, and it was when people were paid per page. And if you've got a short attention span, and basically the book dwells on a lot of situations. It plays it out. They go off to a different country and meet another character. So it dwells on lots of things, and some people might find that frustrating. I can see some people kind of not finishing it, DNFing it because of that. Come on, hurry up. But so it's a different experience. I was quite happy with that, to go along and get that different feeling from the book. And so it's in different sections. It's quite a famous story. Most people know the story. Somebody's a young man sent to prison for a miscarriage of justice, and people go off and get rich on kind of the back of that decision. They live their life. They think he's disappeared dead, and he gets it's a wonderful experience in prison, who he meets, and he gets this treasure, and then he uses that treasure to go and seek his revenge. So it's a revenge arc story that is played out over a long time, and there's the writing of it is excellent. Like I say, at times it dwells on certain situations that some people might not find great. I didn't mind, but then there would be every so often bursts of a few pages that were like genius, absolutely. Like you'd be like, what, where's this come from? Over certain pages, it's like, wow, like all of a sudden, the adrenaline is flowing. Quite remarkable writing, which, really quite remarkable writing. Again, you can't get over how long it is. There's so much in there. Whew. Yeah. Now, the book is of its time, so there's horse and carriages and political backdrops that there's the backdrop of Napoleon. There is, again, one interesting thing that I'm realizing kind of later in life is that he's a count. He wasn't born a count. He bought his countship by buying an island, and this is all in the nobility. Again, like lots of books, there's the peasantry make very little appearance. So it's quite strange. Just like Robin Hood, Sir Robin of Locksley. It's strange. That strange world that the books are all about nobles and nobility. Like I say, it's of its time, so some things are quite fantastical. The ladies swoon and faint, and people have to sit down on chairs, because of their emotions, and so the ladies not faint anymore and swoon. It's what was going on back then. So that's quite of its time. There is, of course, the whole. So he's quite headstrong as a young person, Edmond Dante. So occasionally you're thinking, well, hang on a second, that's a bit sharp. Then he gets sent away. He dreams of revenge. How does that play out? Is it good to go and seek revenge? And there's another element which I'll mention in a second. But if it kind of begs you the question: if you've been locked away in prison for 14 years and you get given an education by somebody in languages, science, so you are coming out of prison almost like in the book it keeps almost referring to him as a bit of a demigod. He comes out, he's one of the richest people in the world, if not the richest, one of the most intelligent people in the world in terms of pure knowledge, languages, science, everything, up to poisons, alchemy, whatever. If you come out in that position, what would you do with that? I know, I'll just blow it all on hunting down the people that made me suffer. That's all I'm gonna do. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Could you not do something a bit more constructive than that? So that's an interesting element to the book. But the book is what it is. That's the story of the book, the revenge arc, and fantastic it is. Now, of course, the other thing in the book, as well as the time, the place, is God. And while Monte Cristo is out for revenge, and he's believing he's an instrument of God, so it doesn't refer to the Old Testament and the New Testament, but he believes that he has not God's voice, but that God is using him to punish on earth the people that have mistreated him, which is rather interesting. You don't get many books like that. He doesn't hear voices, so that's all right. So that's interesting. He comes around in the end to kind of think about the right and wrong of what he's done with his money, with his time, and with those that he's tried to seek revenge on. So it really is. It's been an amazing experience being with a book so long. Now I've read quite long books. I read Shogun 3 times. I was surprised that how long that was. Now Shogun I couldn't put down. The pages read quickly. Now this book I couldn't read it quickly. I was quite happy with that, but I'd get through about a chapter, 20-25 pages, and I don't know whether it was the time, the place, but it was kind of that's enough. I'm happy to come back to it tomorrow, but I don't want to kind of push on, just kind of let it settle there. So other people, I've heard other people kind of read through it very, very quickly and be carried along with it. There was times when I was carried along, but most of the times, particularly in the middle and towards the end, I found that a lot more slower going, but I was happy to kind of go slow with the book. So those are my kind of initial impressions. It will probably be up there in some of the best books that I've ever read. If you were kind of stuck on a desert island and you only had one book with you, then this, because it's so big, so wide ranging, and there's just so much in there. Unbelievable how much is in there. Hats off to the writer. I did hear that that he operated a bit of a writing shop, so that there was other people involved in writing under Dumas or something. I don't know, but I'm happy. It's got his name on it. I'm happy to credit it to him. But yeah, if you were stuck on a desert island and you were only allowed one book, then I could imagine that, you know, this would be a good book to kind of pick out. Whew. Yeah, I might come back to further thoughts on it because it's a kind of a lot to take in. But that's my initial thoughts on the Count of Monte Cristo, Alexandre Dumas. What a fabulous experience that was. So, you know, thanks for those people who recommend it to me. Libro Paradiso, I think it's one of his favourite books. Watched one of his, I think it might have been his first video, and watching that, it kind of like, you know, it triggered me to read it. Yeah, definitely read it. So, good luck out there, everybody. I hope you're reading something good.